Today I am ranking every area in Resident Evil Requiem worst to best. Resident Evil is kind of the inverse of Soulsborne in that sense. Here the areas matter much more than bosses, whereas Soulsborne, the bosses take the priority. Let's get into it. Number 10. Orphanage. This is a good horror location. The first time through, the flashback sections where we are hiding from the other kids is genuinely tense, and when that kid falls right in front of us while we are hiding in the main room, that's a pretty great jump scare. All the red-eyed kids are massively creepy too. The problem is replay value. Once you know what's coming, it gets boring fast. There's not a lot here to do mechanically, and it's mostly atmospheric and a couple of scripted hiding sequences, and that can only work once. Number 9. ARK Entrance. This area mainly exists to pay off Plant 43 from RE2 Remake, and on that front it works. You see it doing nothing in the lab there, and here you finally get to fight it. But outside of that nostalgia hit, it's pretty basic. I did enjoy parrying the seedlings during this area. That makes you feel like a complete badass. Past that though, it's a fairly generic stretch that really just exists to get you to the ARK doors. Number 8. ARK Bioweapon Repository. This is a stretch where you play as Grace through the repository dealing with lickers and zombies, and then switch to Leon right before the final boss. It's not bad, but it feels rushed, like the game knew it needed to get you from point A to the final boss and didn't spend as much time thinking about this section. Nothing here is actively bad. I even enjoyed the combat and was happy to see that the lickers were brought back. It just feels like it's missing some effort compared to the rest of the game. Number 7. RPD. This section is running almost entirely on nostalgia. Walking back into that building, it hits different if you have played RE2 Remake. Mr. X shows up and there's a fairly basic sequence of running away from him. The RPD garage is decent but nothing special. The Mr. X boss fight is great, and I covered that in detail during the boss ranking video, but as an area, this is too short and too empty to be ranked higher. There isn't a lot else going on here. It's a shorter, thinner section compared to the other areas on this list. Number 6. Wrenwood. This is the opening area and it's a strong one. This is the first impression the game makes, and it does a good job of setting the tone for everything that follows. It's genuinely scary, and Grace's reactions here are perfect. Some people criticize her for being too scared, but this is a horror game, and anyone in her position would be wetting themselves too. Number 5. East Raccoon City. This area has less horror than most of the list, but it's still great. This is where the game leans into pure action, and honestly Resident Evil can afford to do that from time to time. The detonator part section where you are collecting the fuses is scary in places, but if we are being honest, that fear mostly comes from the darkness. You could take a Call of Duty section and make it that dark, and it would get a little scary too. The blisterbone fight at the end is great. I like that you can choose to entirely avoid damaging the blisterbone as a valid strategy. The gas station fight is great as well, and dealing with the chainsaw zombie was a highlight there. Going through the collapsed building with the glass floors was very creative as well, and the bike chase with Gideon afterwards is a cinematic sequence done right. Leon's combat throughout this whole game is smooth, and this area is where it really gets to shine. Number 4. Water treatment plant. This area is really two parts. First there's a lab where zombies are being used for their blood. That's a genuinely unsettling setup on its own. Then you move into the plant itself where you have to fight the blisterbone in the church right before finally putting an end to the girl. The girl is in my opinion slightly better as a stalker than Mr. X. Her being damaged by the light and having to take her out by opening the roof was a great touch, and honestly it's a bit surprising that it took Resident Evil 30 years to use a mechanic like this. Number 3. ARK Decontamination to Hunk. This section is great. The combat here is some of the best in the game. Dealing with the elite soldiers, especially on Insanity, takes real thinking and more than a few attempts. And this is where you fight Hunk, who's the best boss in the entire game and a real challenge on Insanity. It's a great payoff, and honestly the fact that there have been 9 mainline entries without Hunk playing a role in the main story is something that needed rectifying. This whole stretch earns its position leading up to that fight. Number 2. Care Center Basement. The basement might be the best pure horror section in the entire game. Having to deal with the girl here where she can take out Grace in just one grab makes it genuinely scary. Having to rush to turn on the lights in case she is nearby adds real tension to the exploration. The joint plug mechanism is a great puzzle idea overall, and exploring here can be a lot of fun. The Grace fight in the processing plant is the real highlight of this whole section. You can't just put an untrained person like Grace into a boss fight the way you can with Leon, but this game gets really creative with how it builds pseudo boss fights instead, like the processing plant sequence here. Number 1. Care Center. The Care Center takes the top spot. It's got all the genuine scares the basement has in terms of horror, but with more variety and more to actually do throughout. The fact that we have 2 pseudo-stalker enemies, the chef in the west wing and Chunk in east wing, was a great feature. The zombie variety was great as well. Having some of them carry fragments of their old lives was a great improvement over typical zombies. The last section here where we have to bring Emily to the east wing and survive until she can solve the puzzle was a great highlight too. This is where the game is at its best. Atmosphere, design, pacing, all of it working together. That's every area in Resident Evil Requiem worst to best. Drop your own rankings in the comments, and if you haven't seen my boss ranking video yet, that's linked right here.